Hello and welcome everybody to another landscape photography critique. Today I've got 7 pictures from Marcel. If you would like to submit your own pictures, of course, just be sure to check out the link in the description or to click on the video right here on the screen, and there I explain everything on how you can submit your own photos. But let's just jump into the first one right here, and let's see. I definitely like the graduation in the sky, definitely really nice, from blue to this kind of almost greenish color. I usually don't really like green in the sky, but here I think it actually works. And of course to the orange colors. In my opinion, you could try to grab, if you use Lightroom, grab a graduated filter and just maybe add another hue of blue on the top, so you add even more differentiation, even more different colors. But overall, I definitely do like the colors in the sky. However, the foreground is just not interesting. If you want to go for a silhouette, then you really have to have a very interesting shape, and these rocks just don't do it for me. I think it could be a lot better if you would just crop it to sort of a panoramic format, maybe 1:2 or something like that, so there's at least not that much black on the bottom here. So then let's go to the next photo. Ooh, that's really heartbreaking because it's just a little bit out of focus, and you shot this with a Nikon D3200. That's actually crazy, along with a kit lens. And you look at all of this detail that you get out of it, as despite it being a little bit unsharp, like these contours are very, very hard to get, even if you have a good camera. In order to get that much structure, you need a very clear sky with almost no light pollution. And if I go back a little bit, and the fact that it doesn't look as obvious that it's out of focus a bit, then I really absolutely love the picture. It's really heartbreaking that it's out of focus, but overall I think it's a great picture. Especially love the little tree in the bottom left. It's not too much and it adds some more additional interest and depth. Once again, really amazing what you've done here with a Nikon D3200 along with a kit lens. So then, I do like the light on the church or this building a lot. Of course, this car on the left is a little bit distracting, so I would try to clone that out. The building on the right, I don't mind as much, but I still think it's a little bit distracting. Maybe if you, let's see, you shot this at 22mm, so I would probably just go right in front of the church and go to 80mm and then shoot from a pretty low angle up, maybe even go closer to the actual building itself. And I definitely like that you have a long exposure time here, because I think these lines in the sky really make the picture. But yeah, maybe just try to get a little bit even more of a dramatic angle, or at the very least kind of get an angle where there aren't as many distractions. There aren't really many distractions, really just the tree, the car, and a little bit distracting building. But overall, I think it's a really cool picture, and once again, especially love the light and the lines or the long exposure effects from the clouds in the sky. So then the next one here. This doesn't do it for me. There's just no interest. It seems a little bit dull, flat. Anything above this line right here is just not interesting. The bottom is not interesting, especially the foreground, these railroad tracks. I don't mind them as much. I think you could end up with a much better picture if you were just kinda zoomed in a little bit more. And yeah, you can't really go too far here with a 18-55 kit lens, but at least a little bit more. And you could really maybe just get an image like this, maybe even go a bit panoramic with some of that sky on the left, some of these clouds on the left. But yeah, definitely the foreground and everything above this line is of no interest to me. So let's see here, another picture. Well, it kinda seems almost overwhelming because there are so many textures, so much going on, but at the same time, these trees on the left and this tree on the right really kinda anchor the image. So I think maybe I'm not the biggest fan of the foreground and everything in between here, but I think it's a pretty solid picture, especially with the light hitting here on the trees. I think that looks amazing, and with the distant town there, I think that also is pretty interesting. Maybe just try to add a little bit of saturation or a little bit of luminance in the sky, because it looks a bit washed out, which I do think works to the scene to a certain degree, but just a little bit more saturation and a little bit more luminance might work. But overall, I think it's a pretty solid picture. A thing that you know what, I'm just gonna try to add like some black bars when I'm editing this video and show you like this. I think if you would almost get kind of a macro shot like this, maybe angle it a little bit differently, so you don't have that big of a gap between those trees. That could also work pretty well, but at the end, this picture, I do like it, but once again, the foreground a little bit too much, and even if you would have just gone a little bit higher so you don't have these ferns or whatever here on the intermediate foreground, that could have made the picture at least a little bit simpler. But once again, I really like the picture, and I hope you kind of understand what I meant to improve the picture here. Alright, so finally let's move on to the next one, and I do think that this picture has something. If I would edit this picture, I would probably go into black and white and add quite a lot of vignetting and really make it kind of mysterious. But at the end, I do like this kind of field in the foreground with this sort of path that leads you into the picture and divides this very messy foreground. And especially the tree in the background here works really, really well. Of course, the sky has absolutely beautiful clouds, but I'm not sure about this city in the distance. Maybe if you would have went a bit lower, so the city or pretty much the entire background wouldn't be as prominent and not really shown, I think you could end up with an almost cinematic look that I think would work a lot better than the picture does right now. But overall, I definitely think the picture has potential, even as it is right now, but maybe try out black and white, and if you decide to stick in color, then try to add some vignetting and some graduated filters to kind of lead you into the picture with different graduations, with the foreground being a little bit darker and all of that stuff. But yeah, once again, I think it's a pretty cool picture. Then the last photo here doesn't work for me. That it's once again just so much going on, all of these grasses, all of this texture really just kind of overloads everything. I don't think that this little river or whatever you would call that is that spectacular or that interesting. The background is kind of distracting. Overall, I just don't like the picture, and honestly, I wouldn't really know of a way to edit this to make it look better in my eye either. Alright, so I think this is pretty much it. These were all of the pictures. Let's just go quickly through them again. This one I think has potential, but I would go a little bit lower so you don't see this stuff in the background. This one right here, maybe go a little bit higher, or once again just take a very close up of these trees maybe, just to try out. But overall I do like the picture. This one, just crop it so you have way more focused on the actual mountain, less of the foreground, less of the very top of the sky right here. This, just make sure that you get rid of the distractions. Then this one, great picture, not really anything you can do except of course trying to get a similar picture with being completely in focus. But regardless, if you look at it from a bit farther away, then it definitely looks amazing. And to your first picture, great graduation in terms of color, but the foreground is just boring and way too much black on the bottom. So yeah, that was pretty much it. Thank you very much for submitting your photos. That was definitely a lot of fun. I should definitely log in the next time so that the little thing doesn't pop up all of the time. But you have a lot of really cool pictures with a lot of potential, and thank you once again very much for submitting these. I really love making these photo critiques because, of course, looking at new pictures, trying to really look at them in detail, see what works, what doesn't work, and that way it also helps me out to make my pictures better in a certain situation. And I think for you guys, of course, it's always good to have a second pair of eyes look at your picture. And as always, of course, I'm just one guy, so don't take anything too much to heart. Just kind of look at the points that I point out, and if you are kind of, yeah, I think he might be right, then of course change it in the future. But if you think, for example, no, I really love this, a lot of black here in the bottom, that's what the picture makes great, then of course don't change a thing. Thank you all very much for watching, see you in the next episode. Of course, be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I hope you all have a great day.